Why can't we just be honest about this and say that America has defaulted on its sovereign obligation?
To do magic, you need either cards or coins, right? Well, I've got this little tiny coin here. But you know how like the biggest forces in the universe are quite tiny, like a collapsed star being like a really dense mass, which sucks in all sorts of, it has very high gravity. Well, this coin is going to save the day because, you know, right now in America, everybody's talking yet again. The last time they talked about this was 2008, 2009, the $1 trillion platinum coin.
No, again?
Of course, $1 trillion, 12, 13 years later is not nearly as much as it was back in 2008. Back in 2008, the richest man in the world was like Warren Buffett, and he was worth like $40 billion. Now it's Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Bernard Arnault, and they're worth like $200 billion. So it would have to be at least 4 trillion. But, you know, the headline here reads, to prevent a potentially catastrophic debt default, an increasingly vocal chorus is saying that the Treasury should issue a small platinum coin, give it a value of $1 trillion, and deposit it at the Fed. So Max, my $1 trillion coin is special. So they go for a mere trillion. I'm going to call it a sextillion coin, right? We're going to go full sextillion because trillion is very Dr. Evil. As we said, it's not that much anymore because you see $1 trillion only has 12 zeros. A sextillion coin has 21 zeros on it. That could rescue the entire global financial system.
Wow, we're going the other way. Venezuela, they're lopping zeros off their currency. In America, they seem to be dedicated to adding zeros on. But I have a question for you. Would like to get your thoughts on this.
Sure.
This idea that minting a trillion coin is somehow going to mitigate the problems of the debt that America has and the debt default. Why can't we just be honest about this and say that America has defaulted on its sovereign obligation? Because $1 trillion, as you point out, with the roughly $30 trillion in exposure, and if you add the unfunded liabilities of Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, it's closer to $300 trillion. You know, and they could just as easily say they're minting a $300 trillion coin as they say that they're minting a $1 trillion coin. They still believe, Stacey, as I understand it, that this is a stopgap measure because at any moment now, and they've been saying this now for 30 years, but at any moment now, the GDP is going to start up skyrocketing enough so that incomes will go up so that the tax revenues collected, which is approximately just under $3 trillion last year, to start paying down the debt. I think that's what they think, that they're just doing a stopgap measure. They still believe that at some point, taxpayers are going to pay down that $300 trillion.
Well, Max, you used to be a magician. So you remember a magic show will be like,
I think that's a mime show, but nevertheless, I get your point.
No, there's a lot of like, you know, fingers and gestures and point there and distraction and diversion and things like that. Misdirection. So you have a lot of that, and people are like wandering around and they don't see what actually happens right in front of them. You're
saying there's a malevolent intent.
Well, are you saying magicians are malevolent? I'm saying
magicians are purposefully obfuscating the truth about what it is they are presenting to the audience in a way to cause the audience to misdirect and not see how the magic is done. So you're suggesting that this $1 trillion coin is just a huge David Copperfield-like misdirection so that people don't focus on the magic of money printing to create the billionaires and the deca-billionaires. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, in a kind of Leo Strauss way. Back in the, from the Chicago school, 1950s, his thing was that basically the deplorables and the masses are really too stupid to be told this stuff. And it's better just to be kind to them by misdirecting and entertaining them with various like television programs, movies, religion, things like that.
So when I was watching the Bozo the Clown Show
Yeah.
as a kid, or
Yeah.
Captain Kangaroo,
True.
which had an excellent character, by the way, Bunny Rabbit, who made it rain ping pong balls. One of the greatest moments of television ever. And we had Winky Dink. You put a piece of plastic on the TV screen and you stare 2 inches away from the screen and you draw Winky Dink a little bridge to save Winky Dink. You're saying that the policymakers in the Federal Reserve Bank and Joe Biden, the president, thinks America is so freaking stupid that they can make them believe that picking up a worthless, shiny, round object and going hocus pocus over it magically turns it into $1 trillion that they can deposit at the Federal Reserve or the Treasury to somehow mitigate that $300 trillion debt crisis? Is that what you're saying?
That's why we have you here on the Keiser Report, in order to explain this sort of stuff. Yes, that is pretty much monetary policy.
Quick, draw $1 trillion platinum coin for Winky Dink so that he can save America.
Do it on the screen right now. Way! You rescued the economy.
That's really cynical on the part of the policymakers out there who don't seem to care about the collateral damage of their fraud and their really bad magic and Winky Dink show. Gosh, golly, I'm upset.
Right. Well, I think like all empires and stuff like ultimately end in a whole grab bag of magic tricks. Back to the Roman Empire, clipping their coins. That was like a magic trick, right? And at the end of the day, we all get to this point. In terms of the cynicism that you mentioned, this headline here was interesting because it ties in with an audience. When you're a magician, you lose your audience when they're all cynical, right? They know what you're doing. You want them to be like amazed and wow, and oh, this is great. Well, when they start going, whatever. Most Americans today believe the stock market is rigged, and they're right. New research shows insider trading is everywhere. So far, no one seems to care. No one seems to care, they say, except for, of course, on Keiser Report, where we see beyond the magic tricks.
Yeah, it's a remarkable statement for a couple of reasons. Number one, the job of journalism is to highlight these things in a way that would get people to care, right? I mean, they're saying that the markets are completely fraudulent, and instead of digging into more specifically how and the damage this causes, they're shrugging their shoulders and saying, what's fraud these days in America? There's nothing that's, as I've said many times, the business model of America is fraud. And if you took fraud out of America's business life, you would have nothing left except a bunch of, Native American reservations in North Dakota somewhere laughing hysterically, and they predicted the whole thing.